When my grandfather died, I expected the usual: a somber funeral, a box of old war medals, and maybe a pocket watch. That's how these things go, right? Instead, I inherited a mansion, a fortune, and an alien girl in a glass pod. My name's Will Kincaid. I was 15 when my life changed forever. Grandpa always said he was an adventurer. Most people thought that meant he'd backpacked through Europe or dug up a few fossils in the desert. Turns out, Grandpa wasn't digging through dirt. He was digging through space. When the lawyer handed me the keys to the Kincaid estate, I was stunned. The place was enormous, a sprawling, ivy-covered mansion surrounded by overgrown gardens. "This can't be right," I told the lawyer. "I'm 15. It's all legal," he said, adjusting his glasses. "Your grandfather left very specific instructions. Everything is yours now." I walked through the mansion that afternoon, the echoes of my footsteps bouncing off walls lined with dusty portraits. It smelled like old paper, varnish, and secrets. Then I found the door in the basement. It was steel with warning symbols I didn't recognize. The room on the other side was like something out of a sci-fi movie. A laboratory. There were glowing screens, strange machines, and at the center of it all, a glass pod. Inside the pod was a girl. She didn't look older than me, maybe 16, with pale lavender skin that shimmered faintly like the surface of a pearl. Her hair floated around her head, silvery and weightless, even though she wasn't moving. She wore a sleek, fitted suit covered in glowing patterns, and she was completely still. A plaque on the pod read, "Project Aaron." "What the hell, Grandpa?" I whispered, and then her eyes snapped open. I stumbled back as the pod hissed. Steam billowed out, and the glass slid upward with a hum. The girl sat up slowly, blinking at me with glowing violet eyes. She stared at me for a moment, tilting her head, and then said something that sounded like music. It wasn't words exactly, but it vibrated in my bones. I stammered. "I don't understand you." Her gaze narrowed, and she placed a glowing hand over her chest. "Aaron," she said. "Aaron." I repeated. She pointed at me, waiting. "Will," I said nervously. "My name's Will." She blinked, her glowing eyes studying me. "Will." The way she said it sounded like she was testing the word, rolling it around her mouth like candy. I stood there, unsure of what to do. "Nice to meet you?" Aaron smiled faintly. And that's when the alarm started blaring. The screens lit up with red warnings. Symbols flashed, ones I didn't recognize. Erin's calm expression turned sharp as she leapt from the pod with surprising grace. She grabbed my arm, pulling me toward the exit. "Hey, wait! What's happening?" I shouted. She pointed at the screens, then up at the ceiling. "They come." "They who?" She didn't answer. We burst out of the basement as a low hum rattled the windows. I ran to the front door and froze. The sky was filled with ships. They looked like knives, sleek, black, and cutting through the clouds with eerie precision. I could hear them humming, vibrating the air as they descended. Aaron tugged on my arm. "Hide!" We ran. Somehow, Aaron seemed to know the mansion better than I did. She pulled me into a hidden passage behind the library, where we crouched in darkness. "Okay," I whispered, panting. "You need to tell me what's going on. Who are you? What are those things?" Aaron took a breath. "Hunters." "Hunters? For you?" She nodded. "I was taken. Escaped. Your elders saved me." I stared at her. "You mean Grandpa? He saved you?" "Yes," she said softly. "He hid me here. But they found me." I rubbed my face. "So let me get this straight. Grandpa rescued you from space kidnappers, hid you in his basement, and now they're here to take you back." "Yes." "And what do they want you for?" Her glowing eyes dimmed. "I am valuable." "Great," I muttered. "Well, guess what? You're not going anywhere." The hunters breached the mansion soon after. I could hear them, Metallic footsteps, hissing sounds, and strange, alien voices. "Stay quiet," I whispered as Aaron and I crouched in the darkness. She looked at me, confused. "Why? They'll hear us?" Aaron tilted her head. "But you are a warrior." I blinked. "What?" "You are Kincaid," she said firmly. "Your elder fought many battles." I nearly choked. "You think I'm some kind of soldier?" "Yes." She smiled faintly. "You are brave." "Brave?" I hissed. "I screamed when I saw a spider yesterday." It didn't matter. The hunters found us. The door exploded inward, and 3 figures stepped into the passage. They were tall, 7 feet at least, wrapped in black armor that pulsed with red light. Their faces were hidden behind smooth, featureless masks. Erin stepped in front of me, her hands glowing with energy. "No," I said, grabbing her shoulder. "You're not fighting them alone." I didn't have a weapon. I didn't have a plan. But I grabbed an old metal pipe leaning against the wall and charged. It was the stupidest thing I'd ever done. I swung the pipe at the nearest hunter. It bounced off his armor with a loud clang, and he turned toward me, unfazed. I gulped. "Hi." Before he could strike, Erin raised her hands. Light erupted from her palms, slamming into the hunters like a tidal wave. They were thrown back, crashing into the walls. She turned to me, her expression stern. "You are not a warrior." "Told you." We fought our way out of the mansion, Erin blasting enemies with her energy, meanwhile mostly running and distracting them. By the time we reached the front lawn, the remaining hunters retreated to their ships. Erin stood beside me, glowing softly as the ships rose into the sky. "They'll come back," I said. "Yes," she replied. I looked at her, this alien girl who had somehow become my responsibility. "What do we do now?" She smiled faintly. "We fight. Together." It's been a year since that day. Erin and I live on the run, moving from place to place. She's teaching me how to fight, how to be the warrior she believes I can be. I still don't know why the hunters want her so badly, but one thing's for sure. They're not getting her. Grandpa always said I'd inherit his legacy. I don't think he meant a war. But hey, it beats school.